Hey guys, welcome back to a new episode of Dev Drawer. Today we're going to be going over, kind of finishing what we did last week with the Sass Bootstrap that we were creating. Last week we kind of created everything that we needed, so we have the columns, we have the buttons, the images, the links, cards, all that kind of stuff inside of our own Bootstrap style sheet based off of Sass. So today we're going to take it a step further and we're going to break it up a little bit so it's a little bit easier to manage. It's a little more modularized. So if you like this kind of video, hit the bell notification and subscribe because I got plenty of videos like this at least once a week, and you can look back at the previous Sass tutorials that we've done. This one shouldn't be a relatively long one because it's kind of sort of just moving around files, but stay tuned to the end of the video. I have another major update on the 1,000 subscribers giveaway that's going to be hopefully happening soon. So let's go ahead and get started. Before we dive too far into how to break these up, I want you to take a look at something. So currently, in the last video, I showed you how to create the style.css. But as you can see here, it's generating a style.min.css, which is the minified version of our style.css, and we didn't create that ourselves. Visual Studio actually created that for us, and I'll show you how to do that. If you go to your settings, over here in settings, and then if you type in, I believe it's Sass, and then we go to Live Sass Compiler, there is a setting in here to generate, where's it at? Formats and save location. So I believe this is it. So settings, formats. If we click on this, you can see here what I've edited is I've made it where whenever it creates the formats, it usually just does like I can't remember exactly what it was before I changed it, but essentially I added these two formats. I have inside of the CSS folder, I want to create a .css. But I also want to create a minified version of that CSS, so I changed the format to compressed and make it still go to that same folder. So whenever Live Sass runs and it watches it, it's going to create the minified version of it as well. So that's just a little trick that you can do inside of your Live Sass. Whenever you're watching it, you can generate this compressed version of the CSS just by telling it you want to create a different version. If you don't want to create a minified version of it, you could essentially just come over here and remove it. And the reason why it just started working is because on my development machine that I use personally, not the Dev Drawer development machine, but mine, I have my Visual Studio set up to, as this is one of the options that I have that's being watched between both of my machines. So it went ahead and added this option for me over here automatically. So that's how it does this. So if you were wondering where this file came from, it's being automatically generated by this Live Sass that's down here. Okay, so that's just something I wanted to get out of the way to kind of show you how it's doing it. But let's get back into our style.scss, and inside of our folder structure over here, I want to create some included functionality inside of this, but without breaking it. So let's create a new folder, and we're going to call this scss, and we're going to create some modules that we can pull from that contains this information. So our main style sheet's not going to be super huge. It's actually going to be kind of compressed, and we're actually going to take our style.scss and we're going to move it out and put it inside of this as well. So whenever it does go to run it, it'll run it from inside of there, and it won't put a whole bunch of stuff inside of here that we don't necessarily want it to push inside of it. Okay, so I'm going to come over here and we're going to delete everything except for our style.scss. So if we save this right now, it's going to run it again. And if you remember in the settings, let me open that back up real quick. So let's go back to our settings, type in Sass, and go to Live Sass Compiler, go inside the formats. I also have generate map turned to false. So that map that I just deleted over here, I don't necessarily care if the generated map is included or not. You can. I just have mine as false, so that way it's not going to generate the additional map file for whenever we go to save it. So if we come over here and we save this right now, you'll see that it creates the min and then the regular CSS. So I want it to do that, but I don't want it to do it from this location. I want everything to run inside of our SCSS folder, so whenever we go to move it over to production, we don't have to move the SCSS with it. We can just move the regular style sheets. So again, let's delete this, and I'm going to take my SCSS and I'm going to move it over into my SCSS folder. So now if I hit save again, it still generates the style.css and the style.min.css inside of our CSS folder, but now it's being generated from our style.scss file inside of our SCSS folder. Wow, that is a mouthful. Okay, so what I want to do is I want to take and split this functionality up into different files. And the way that you do that is you create a file, a .scss folder or file, but you put a underscore in front of the name. So if we want to come over here, we can create a new file, and let's call this underscore variables.scss. So these underscore variables is going to be the variables that we want inside of this. So let's take all of the variables that we created, and I believe this will be the first thing that we would need to take. So we're going to take that entire variable section and we're going to paste it inside of our variables over here. And right now it's not being included anywhere, it's not being called anywhere. So our style sheet is it's not working. Obviously it still looks right on our browser and the style sheet is still there, but it's not pulling correctly. As you can see over here, it's not able to find the variable primary font, so it's not overwriting anything. So what exists here still exists because we created it prior to doing that move, and it didn't break anything. So in our inside of our style.scss, what I want to do here is I want to @import, and I actually believe they're changing this. I'm used to the import way. I haven't really done too much research on the new way to do it. There's definitely another way to do this, but the import is the way that I learned how to do it, so we're just going to keep doing the way that I learned how to do it for now. So we're going to import variables, and we don't need to import /scss variables or even add the extension to it. We just import the variables file. Sass is smart enough to know what you're talking about. And as you can see over here, the error went away and the style sheet didn't change because obviously we're just moving things around, so it's not very important how that's being generated. But Sass isn't smart enough to know that that's what it needs to do. So we're going to do that exact same thing, and we're going to take away some of this information that we have. Like for example, the grid. This is a variable, so we don't want to have this grid variable inside of there anymore. We want it to be inside of our variable style sheet. Alright, so I think that's it for the variables. Let me just scroll down through the code and verify that. Okay, so that's it for our variables. Now what I want to do is let's just create like a general, which can contain like the container fluid and stuff like that. So let's go inside of here. We're going to create underscore general.scss, and then I'm just going to copy the clear fix, the body, the container fluid, text center, text right, and small. So we're going to get all of this outside of our style.scss, and we're just going to paste it in there. Okay, so that, I believe that is it for the general. So now let's come over here and let me just show y'all what that looks like now. So right now you can see it's not using the style sheets that we set up for the body. So you can see that the font is defaulted back to like Times New Roman or something like that. That's because in here is where we're actually declaring that we're going to use that body font, the font family as the primary font for the body. So if we come over here and we do @import general, and now if we refresh this, you can see it's all went back to normal. So you can see how it's working now. It's splitting it up. We're splitting it up and it's using it. So if we don't import it in the right place, obviously it won't work. Okay, so now we have our general and our variables. Let's go ahead and create another one for our grid since we already kind of have this set up here. So let's grab all of the grid code all the way down to the buttons. I'm going to copy that. We can go ahead and get rid of this now. And then inside of here, we're going to do new file grid.scss and paste it in. And then we're going to import our grid. There we go. Okay. And the reason why I'm breaking it up like this instead of having all of it in one place is because you can create different modules. So let's say, for example, you didn't want to use a card or an alert. Let's just use alerts, for example. We can come over here and we can take this entire section for the alerts and we can get rid of it. So right now, the alerts look terrible because, you know, there's nothing there. So we come over here and we do the same thing we were doing. So alerts.scss, so scss, paste that in, and we're going to use the alerts, right? So we're going to do import alerts. There. Okay, so now it works. But let's say if your project did not need to have alerts, you could create your entire functional code, but only include the parts that you actually want to use. So if you're not going to have an alert on the page of your website that's actually pulling from the styles, you just don't include it here. You know, just remove it all together or comment it out or whatever you want to do. And then in your style sheet, it'll have no reference whatsoever to that alerts. But the code that produces the alerts inside of this module is still here. So you can always come back and later, if you ever wanted to just add alerts to it, you could just add import alerts and it would still be there. So the end result of your style sheet, you can make it where it doesn't include everything and make it a completely, you know, bulky style sheet. You can just include the things that you want. So if you just wanted to use the grid, only thing you would import is the grid and the variables. Everything else you could code by yourself or just not have it. So it's just, that's the reason why it would be good to use your imports, is because your end product will only import what you tell it to. Everything else will be completely excluded. Okay, so now that we got that out of the way, let's just move down and let's just grab our button code. So we got our button code here. We're going to take that out and let's go ahead and throw in our import. So at import buttons, and that means we need to call our style sheet underscore buttons.scss, and then we're just going to paste that in. So now we have, you know, you can see how we're breaking it all up, and it makes it a lot more accessible. It makes it easier to make modifications in the future without having to worry about breaking everything. And what did I just do? Oh, that was the links. Okay, so let's do another one. So new file underscore links scss, and then we're just going to import that as well. So at import links, and that's right there. So now our links are still working, our buttons are still working, our alerts are still working, everything is still working. Alright, so now let's come down here and we're going to pull out our images. Let's do at import images, and then up here we're going to create a new file called images, and our images are still working. Okay, so I think let's just go ahead and do the rest of them. Kind of redundant at this point, but you get the idea of it. At import cards, and then let's go ahead and do at import and tables. Okay, so let's go ahead and pull this, which should be the last thing we have to do for this style sheet. And create a new one. There we go. Alright, so now our tables are there, And let's go ahead and look at our style sheet for now. So we have our columns, we have everything that we want to have displayed. But let's say right now I'm going to take everything off. So let me close out of these for now. Here. Okay. So I'm just going to add in just our general. And I'm going to save it. And now if we look at our style sheet, it includes, you can't see the variables just because the variables are being converted in real time, but you can control the variables. But as you can see here, it only imported those two sections. If we didn't import the general along with everything else and we just had the variables, the only thing that would do is just display the style sheet reference to the font. And as you can see over here, it makes it where our style sheet is completely broken. So adding all that back in, everything comes back in real time. Okay, so let me see. What else is there to do? I think that for the most part, that's how you use Sass. I mean, it's not too difficult to use. You just kind of know some of the functionality for creating variables, for creating modules and methods, and the functions in order to generate things. But I think that's pretty much summarizing everything I wanted to teach y'all about Sass. I'm sure there's some other things that you can do with it, but I mean, as far as what I wanted to accomplish in this tutorial, we created our own Bootstrap kitchen sink with all of the elements that I like from Bootstrap. And again, this isn't somewhere you have to stop at. You can actually go find an element on Bootstrap that you like, create the style sheet for it, import it into your Sass, and then have it generate that style sheet for you. So it's just kind of up to you what you want to do with it. But this is how you use Sass. Using this application, this Watch Live Sass, I believe is what it's called. What is it called? Live Sass Compiler will make writing your Sass so much easier, especially if you can put it in combination with your live server. Everything is pretty much automatically loaded for you. Everything's done for you. You just have to write the code for it. It makes your life so much easier if you use those two whenever you're writing Sass. Alright, so I think for the most part that's going to be it for this tutorial. Again, thank you guys for watching. My channel has been taking off a lot lately. I am still building up to my first 1,000 subscribers, but we're almost there. And if you remember, a few videos ago, maybe a few weeks ago, I actually told y'all I was going to do like a giveaway for whenever I hit 1,000 users. I'm still planning on doing that, and just so you know, I actually bought the laptop for myself to test it out, and it's a great laptop. Hold on a second, and I can grab the laptop so we can talk about it. Okay, so sorry, delay. The laptop that I have right now that I just bought it's a Lenovo ThinkPad. It is a ThinkPad, I believe it's a T15, but it uses Linux software, so it's already kind of pre-built to work with Linux. It has a quad-core processor. I think mine has 48 gigs of RAM. It has a 1 terabyte NVMe solid-state drive. It's 15.6 inches, and so far it is an amazing machine. So this is the one that I'm planning on giving away if you guys help me get to my first 1,000. And we're very close to it. So I know my numbers are hidden, but we're very close. I would say probably within the next 3 months, 4 months, we're going to be hitting it, if not sooner than that, based on the numbers that I've been getting. But this laptop it's good. It's really good. And it took about 3 months for them to build it for me and to ship it out to my house. And I've been playing around with it. It has a 4K resolution monitor or screen on it. So you can have multiple windows open at the same time and not have to worry about the limitations of 1080p or anything like that. So it is a very good laptop, and I like it so much that I'm going to give it away to one person whenever I hit my 1,000. So if you want to be a part of that, just make sure that you help me get to that number. Share my channel with your friends. Share it with your coworkers or anybody else you think would be interested in these kind of tutorials. I'm very engaged with my channel, and hopefully by giving away something that I think this was probably like a $1,700 laptop. So hopefully by giving away something like this for a developer that may need it, will help people kind of understand that my channel is about helping people and about building out something to kind of give you more knowledge. So just kind of, give me a thumbs up, leave a comment, and share this video as well as my channel with your friends, and tell them they should subscribe too, because everybody's going to be open to it. So I think that's it for now, and I will talk to you later.